I left town this morning, gone with no warning, got no plans. In my empty hands, I'm just searching to find something new. A change is coming.
Hello there, listeners, and welcome into another episode of Career Day with Friends. I'm your host, Ryan Haynes, and that was A Change is Coming, an original song by our guest today, Matt Borrello. Matt, how are you today, man?
Doing great, Ryan. Good to see you. How are you?
I'm doing good. I'm hanging in there. So for those that aren't familiar with Matt's music, your style, your genre is generally sticking around like 50s, 60s, 70s, kind of that rockabilly, blues,
Yeah,
country
kind of
realm.
blend a lot of those kinds of things together. Yeah, 50s, a lot of good rock and roll from the original era of rock and roll, But yeah, I like it all. I like jazz, country, old school country mostly, classic rock. I grew up listening to all the stuff from the 90s and the late 80s and all that stuff too, Heard a lot of
Yeah, man.
Creed. I heard a lot of
A lot of Creed.
I never listened to it on purpose, but I heard a lot of it. Yeah.
All right, so listen, I got a number of questions for you.
Okay.
So it's going to be professional questions, personal questions. We're just going to have like a lot of fun. So
Cool.
buckle up and get ready.
I'm ready.
All right. So picture this. You're at a legendary concert.
Okay.
Dylan, Petty, Willie Nelson. Who are you jamming with on stage? Who are you partying with after? And
Okay.
who are you watching their entire set just soaking in all the greatness?
Oh God. I mean, playing with Dylan would just be the top, so I'd have to jam with Bob.
Okay.
But I would say all three, Bob, and that's just how much of a Dylan nut I am. I think I would hang out with Tom after the show
Okay.
because I've heard some really just chill. They're just super chill. Like, there was a great story I heard from a guitar player who was in the opening band on one of the Petty tours, and he was in Hawaii, and he had never been to Hawaii, and he was kind of a foodie, and he was gonna go out to dinner alone by himself, and he was gonna go to like the fanciest restaurant in Hawaii and have this incredible dinner and just relax and enjoy this amazing food. And he gets a call from Tom, and he's like, "Hey, we're having burgers and dogs in the parking lot." And he's like, "Crap, I have to do this." Like, so he was like bummed to skip his fancy like solo cuisine adventure or whatever, but he, so I think they would just be a kind of, cool thing. And I would just watch Willie. I've seen him a few times. I've seen him Willie 3 times, and yeah, that's a tough question because I would like to hang out with all of them. I would like to jam with all of them, and I could just sit and watch.
I saw your sarcastic frown. You filled me up with doubt. And if this car slows down, I'm throwing myself out. Strangled in the empty promise, drinking through the final straw. Did you think I was above this? You thought I'd
Seen Dylan
obey the
23
law.
times, 24 times
Wow, man. That's
since
incredible.
2002, since 2006, really. I saw him once in 2002. Me and Chris Pixoto were in my parents' rubber raft floating outside of the Newport Folk Festival where he played in 2002 for the first time since 1965. And I wasn't a huge fan then. I probably knew 3 or 4 songs, and we didn't even stay the whole time. So that was technically the first time I saw Dylan. I didn't even see him with my own eyes because we were just floating in a boat listening.
Dude,
So,
that's
yeah.
so cool. And I had Pixoto on the show,
Oh,
first
that's great.
episode. Talk
That's
about the
awesome.
Astros, catch up with him a little bit. So
great.
he'll like listening to that and remembering
Yeah.
that story. But I mean, what better way to like have your first experience listening to Dylan than just like chilling on the water
Sitting in a
in a
rubber
boat?
raft and then leaving halfway through and going to play Nintendo. We went back to my parents, where we went to my parents' boat, and we had Nintendo 64 on the boat. I didn't even know how lucky I was then to be
That's
like, oh, you're
awesome.
lucky enough where your parents have a boat and you can play Nintendo while you're on the boat. Like, what the heck?
I put out a record this year, 2022. The name of the record is Lonesome Valley. You can find it on any listening services and iTunes or whatever they have left. I also sell CDs out of the trunk of my car with some of my songs, and I play all kinds of other people's songs too. I think that's fun. And
Most memorable collaboration.
Most memorable collaboration. I mean, it has to be with my sister. I mean, we started playing around the same time. She lives in Hollywood now, Sarah Borrello, but she goes by the stage name Annabelle Lee now, and made a great record last year. And she's always working on new music and playing some cool shows out there. And but before she moved, I believe it was before she moved, she recorded an album in Wisconsin. At this guy Justin Vernon's house. Justin Vernon has the stage name Bon Iver or Bon Iver. People don't really know how to say it. I think that's the whole point. Basically, after he made it big, he bought this big house and put a recording studio in it. And he let all his friends in town run the studio there. And kind of, he would be there sometimes, but usually he'd be traveling or living somewhere else. And so it was really cool to be there, and I got to play the guitar that he recorded his big album on, and recorded with my sister just playing guitar, you know. So that was a cool collaboration. My other one that is big, the song that you used in the intro there, I wrote with a friend of mine, Andy Kostek, who's from the UK, and we met at Rick's Music World in Raynham, where I taught, you know, and played for many years, and he had me come over to England. It was right after I graduated high school. I went to England for 12 days, and he had an apartment in the northern part of England where he had a studio at a warehouse up the road. So we recorded and wrote that song there, and I recorded 5 or 6 other songs while I was there, and got to see a lot of the different towns in all different parts of England. And so that was a cool trip and a cool collaboration.
Yeah, not many people get to go hang out at like a famous musician's house and just like jam out and record songs.
Yeah, and he had his Grammy Award on the back of the toilet in the studio bathroom that everybody used. It was just like so.
That's definitely like a power move. Like,
that's a power move. Yeah,
that's a power move. All right. Drink of choice on stage.
Drink of choice on stage.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's good to have water around. Yeah, man, it's been, you know, I've been playing gigs since I was 15 or 16, and I wasn't it wasn't any of that then. Coffee's great. You know, I don't, you know, I enjoy whiskey, but I don't drink it on stage. I try not to drink liquor at gigs, because that's never, you know, it just hits you quicker, and it just,
it can play with your mood a little bit, can bring you down, bring you up, kind of.
And I also, you know, I drank a lot of IPAs back when they first started becoming popular, you know, Harpoons and all that, and but now I can't drink them because they make me sneeze. Really hoppy beers, I still like the taste, but they make me sneeze. I developed an oversensitivity. I don't know if I had too many of them and I hit some kind of line where my body says, no more, please. So I like Amstel Light. Amstel Light's only 3.8% alcohol, so it's even weaker than Coors Light or Bud Light, and you know, so I can have 2 or 3 and be basically sober by the time I'm moving down the road.
Sneezing is an interesting
not
response.
If I'm singing, you know what I mean? So, you know, even Guinness or Sam Adams will give me sneezing, which is just weird.
We're at the age now where, like, I drink an IPA and then I'm burping for the next
Yeah,
I
yeah,
don't know,
yeah.
15 minutes. I'm like, this is brutal. Like, why can't my body digest this stuff anymore? So
It was designed to survive the trip from England to India around the south tip of Africa. Like, it's not actually designed for human consumption. It's designed for colonial sailor consumption. You know, those guys were burning every carb in that IPA, and we're just sitting around drinking 6 of them. You know what I mean? And doing nothing.
all right. So 3 different cars here. 64 Rolls-Royce Phantom, 5. 66 Ford Mustang convertible or 1960 Corvette C1 convertible. Which one you driving? Which one you picking?
God. I mean, I got to take the Rolls.
That car was John Lennon's personal car. 64 Rolls-Royce Phantom.
Yeah,
The
that makes sense.
Mustang
Yeah, I have a huge
was
John Lennon
Dylan.
fan. Which
Mustang
one?
was
The
Dylan.
Mustang. Dylan had a Mustang. Yeah.
Yeah, and the Corvette was the boss, Bruce.
Bruce. I've been so obsessed with Bruce for the last couple of weeks. Yeah, I've
Bruce
been on
has
a
some
Bruce.
jams, man. He's
Do
got
you know
some jams.
Backstreets? Do you know the song Backstreets?
I've heard it, yes.
Yeah, Backstreets from Born to Run album. That song has been eating me alive for the last couple of weeks. I played it at a couple of gigs, but it's still. I think I sort of freed myself from it. Yeah, my first car was supposed to be a '70s Mercedes. It was dark blue with the
Ooh.
real emblem coming up off the front, and it was. I don't think it was diesel, but it was an automatic, and it was a '76 or a '78. I think it was a '76 Mercedes. Yeah, and I learned how to drive in that car with the big bucket seat, and it rode around like a boat, you know. And just before I was gonna actually get my license, my mom kind of put the kibosh on it because it was just unreliable. It was having electrical issues, and my mom was like, "I do not want our son driving around in a vintage car that needs work all the time." Like, so I had I guess it would have been an '05 or an '06 Chevy Malibu, which was just like a basic sedan.
Where the gentlemen are talking, and the midnight moon is on the riverside. They're drinking up and walking, and it is time for me to slide. I live in another world where life and
So on an episode of The Artist Corner, which is a local TV show based in Mass,
Yeah.
you talked about how you drew inspiration from comedian George Carlin for your song Glimpse of God. And you said something to the extent of writing it as if George Carlin was writing a rockabilly song. So are there any other non-musicians that have inspired you in your writing process? And then maybe like go into how people like Carlin can kind of inspire you to make rock music, which is kind of designed to be a little bit like anti-establishment, right? So he kind of fits
Yeah, for
that
sure.
mold.
Sure. But yeah, I mean, George Carlin, it was, after somebody passes, he passed away right before I went to college, basically.
Mhm.
And I feel like our generation, freshman year of college, you're basically watching YouTube all the time. Like, so I
Yep.
just digested his entire career, basically. When I get into a particular artist or comedian, I'll basically, I feel the need to listen to or watch everything they've ever done, just so I can understand the person and the artist as much as possible. And yeah, so I remember writing it in my dorm room and on my laptop, and yeah, just a bunch of kind of like tongue-in-cheek anti-establishment stuff in that song is basically the whole idea. I wasn't trying to be anti-religious or anything like that. I think it's I don't think there's a way to read that song that way, really.
Mhm.
I mean, specific, things that are in there maybe maybe a little bit pointed, but I think that the underlying message is not at odds with religion or whatever. But yeah, I mean, other comedians for sure. Norm Macdonald is a huge influence on always thought he was great.
Sirens in the distance tell me people never change. I'm walking down the street and every face is strange. Feet nailed together, fixed in place like a star. When I look in the mirror, the future seems so far. Fear grows and grows into a lightning rod. A falling star, a glimpse of God.
So I'm sorry, I didn't know that you were into Norm Macdonald, but
Oh my God.
based on kind of your personality and your interest, I was looking up the cars for the celebrities. One of the ones I looked up first was Norm Macdonald, and I found out that he didn't actually
He didn't know how to drive. He never learned how to drive.
He said he drove like 5 times in his life, and he got into 4 car accidents.
Yeah, he's a very interesting cat. His book is really good. His fake memoir he put out. It's not a fake memoir, but there's so much fake stuff in it. My favorite things about Norm is that he got me into this country singer named Billy Joe Shaver.
Okay.
Pretty much. I was already aware of Billy Joe Shaver. He's mentioned in a Bob Dylan song, and my grandparents tried to take me to see Billy Joe Shaver in Newport. He was playing at a very small church. He's not a hugely successful name or anything, but he's one of the best country songwriters of all time. He passed away in 2020, but we went to Newport to see Billy Joe Shaver, and we had the date wrong or something like that, so I never got to see him. But yeah, so Norm's a big giant Billy Joe Shaver fan. He had him on his podcast. If you check that out on YouTube, it's really funny.
No sugar in my coffee, no honey in my tea. If you mistreat me, mama, I'll ship on out to sea. Said, baby, you tied me up and knocked me out. Said you took away my mojo and then you filled me up.
So this next question is, James Taylor said songwriting is too mysterious and uncontrolled process for me to direct it toward one thing. Neil Diamond said songwriting is the hardest part of what he did. And Rod Stewart simply said, I don't enjoy songwriting.
Yeah, Rod Stewart hasn't written that many songs.
So you have recorded 3 albums. You have Don't Turn Around that you recorded in 2010, A Dollar and a Kiss 2015, and Lonesome Valley was your most recent in 2022. Do you find that you kind of just wait for inspiration to strike and then you're kind of jotting things down and trying to create a song from that? Or do you feel like for you, it's more of like a meditative process where you kind of like schedule time to sit down, meditate, think, what is more your process?
Well, it's really hard to say. Sometimes I'll just be driving around and a couple of lines will come in my head and I'll kind of start something, or I used to like to write just the lyrics first. That's usually how I would do it. I would usually basically sit and write a poem, whether I was in class, pretending to take notes, writing a verse or a chorus or about something or other. And then, being on a bus or on a train is always good, or a plane. I've written a few songs on plane rides, because sometimes if I'm on a plane and I don't have a guitar or an instrument to kind of give myself some kind of backing, I'll just pick a song that I can sing in my head that I already know and kind of just write new words for that song. But other times, songs will be inspired by specific things that happen or things that you see on TV or, when I first started, it was all of that, really just writing the words first or sitting down with the guitar, writing the whole thing with the guitar. There's quite a few songs that I wrote in 5 minutes or less. And then there's songs that have taken me years of chipping away at, and bringing it back. Last time I went to the studio, I didn't have that many new songs. A lot of the songs had been written when I was between 18 and 21, and I was 30 in the studio, finally working them out,
Mm-hmm.
So I had just brought a binder of old lyrics that I had and kind of, hey, let's try this. Let's see what we can do with this and just pull it out. But But yeah, James Taylor's incredible. I saw him with my mom a couple months ago, and he did a great set, and he took a break in the middle, and he's old enough where he deserves a break in the middle of his show, and you'd expect him to go back and hang out, relax for a little bit, and then come back out and finish the show. He spent the entire break crouched down on his knees at the front of the stage signing autographs.
What? That's awesome.
For anybody that wanted to walk up to the front of the stage, he's just kneeling there at the front of the stage, signing autographs and talking to people, shaking hands. That really impressed me.
Trapped in this place in between, unable to see or be seen, an era filled with so much rage. Now just a story.
Again, most of your music comes from 50s, 60s, 70s. Do you ever feel like as a musical artist that you're going to have to adapt to a more modern style of music?
I don't really feel the need to make any what do you call it, compromises. Yeah, no compromises. Yeah.
Yes.
So I mean, yeah, I opened for Lee Brice and I opened for Billy Currington a couple years ago,
Okay.
which was two of my biggest gigs I've ever had playing my own songs. So that was really cool, and I do have a big appreciation for country music, but I would feel like a phony if I completely committed to it and like sang with a Southern accent, sang about trucks and beer and everything. Like there's certain buzzwords that you need to have in current popular country songs. But somebody like Chris Stapleton, I don't feel like he makes that many compromises. There's successful country artists. This Zach Bryan kid that everybody loves now.
Mm-hmm.
He's just a singer-songwriter. He's like guys I saw at open mics in 2006, so I think there's a place for what I do. When I played for that country audience, like they don't see people play harmonica on the rack that much. In country music, it's much more of a folk and blues thing. Guys like Neil Young and Springsteen do it, but they're not. And those guys are country singers too. I mean, country artists are basically like, it all sounds like 80s Petty and Springsteen, and even some of it sounds like U2 sometimes. Like it's just like with a Southern accent and with a certain perspective behind it. So I think there's a place for whatever it is I do.
So that brings us to the last question, and that's just what are you up to now? What are your plans kind of moving forward? Where can people learn more about about you and listen to your music? Like just go into that.
I'm still playing quite a bit. I've got 4 gigs this weekend, and played in Nashua, New Hampshire last night. Playing in Taunton, Mass tonight. I'm playing in Milford, Mass off of 495 on Sunday at a brewery, and just all over the place. I'm in a band called 60s Thunder that does strictly 60s rock, Beatles, Stones, The Who, The Doors, Led Zeppelin, a little bit of Led Zeppelin, that's late 60s, but all kinds of, Motown, and we just do 60s rock and roll, and we kind of play around some pretty good venues in Mass and other areas, and I've got all my music online still, so you can listen to it for free. But,
which is great.
Yeah, no, I'd like to get more active on YouTube too, because I think that it's just a cross generational platform for all kinds of topics and stuff, and I think that if I doing an album and just putting the whole thing on YouTube with actual video of the recording session would be kind of cool. Because that, when I think of like my favorite artists, like if they put out an album and I listen to it, I'm like always thinking, damn, I wish I could see the video of them actually performing this in the studio.
Yes.
Usually that doesn't exist because usually they're not actually performing it together in the studio. They recorded the drums and they recorded the bass, then they did everything separately. The performance that you're hearing never actually happened, and that kind of pisses me off a lot of the time.
Did you happen to watch the Beatles documentary on Disney
Oh yeah,
Plus?
that's great. That's exactly what I'm talking about.
Yes.
But the actual performances that are on the record is kind of what I would want to do. I'd want to make like basically a YouTube video album is my idea.
I love that. And then getting to tap into like the artist's songwriting process, like how they're communicating with the other musicians in the band. I think having that background experience just really makes you, it kind of humanizes everybody, connects you to all those people a little bit more. Like
Yeah,
you're
it
just
makes
hanging
you
out with your friends and watching them do their thing.
totally.
But
Yeah, thanks, man.
yeah, man. Maybe we'll have to do this again, and I'll have to catch you at one of your shows.
Yeah, count me in. How I play guitar lick here.
All right, let's see it.
This is a traditional ending here. That's all we got.
I remember when you said that you didn't need anyone. I said, sounds like fun. Let's live like the West ain't won. In the summer sun, there's a light that can't play tricks on you. I had the clearest view, staring right on through, and you could see it too. Side by side, we've got trails to blaze, knowing there are some that don't lead nowhere at all. Cast down from heaven with no more hell to raise. The future's bright from what I can recall.